Hello, I'm Holly, and today I'm going to be talking about 8 books that I think I might give 5 stars. A few weeks ago I did a video where I talked about what books I give 5 stars, where I went through all the books that I've ever given 5 stars and rated on Goodreads, so since July 2017, and then I looked at common themes, common tropes, the common things that linked my absolute favourite books together. And today I have picked 5 books from my physical TBR, so I owned all of these books, and I've tried to find books that contain at least a few of those tropes because hopefully they have a higher chance of being a 5 star. Now this is a huge risk. You could call this video 5-star predictions. I'm calling it more 5-star hopes and dreams because currently I am not giving many 5 stars out. Before I started this video I have just given my 4th 5-star of the year, which is exciting, but that is not that many considering we are almost getting to the halfway mark of the year. So hopefully some of these are 5 stars. If one of them is a 5-star, I would consider this a success. If all 8 of them are 5 stars, that will be incredible. So I've got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping for the best, and when I have read these books I will return to this video and see, was I correct? Could I predict what books I was going to give 5 stars? Now, the common tropes and themes, I thought I would just quickly run through them so you can kind of see what I was looking for. So I had found family, morally grey characters or the femme fatale, a circular story arc, an animal companion, sad books, so just books that are super emotional, books that contain gods or godlike creatures or religious themes, and then my last common theme was the writing style, so a really flowery, descriptive writing style. I love people who use imagery and sound, so I was looking for those things. Some of these things are pretty hard to find if you haven't read the books, but I have tried my best. And with that, the first 2 books I have on this list are both sequels to series that I have given at least 1 5-star, so I feel like these are the best bet to give a 5-star. The first one of those is The Queen of the Damned by Anne Rice. This is the 3rd book in the Vampire Chronicles series. The first book is Interview with the Vampire, which was a book that I absolutely loved. I did give that one 5 stars. I have also read the sequel, which is The Vampire Lestat, and I gave that I think like a 4.5, so it was very close to being a 5. Wasn't a 5, but hopefully we can go back up to a 5 with this one. Now this is a series of books following vampires, and in the first one you meet Louis, who is recounting his life story, how he became a vampire, the people that he met, the things that he has done, and then the second book is following a character that was in Into the Vampire. Now Queen of the Damned follows a character who was introduced in The Vampire Lestat, and she is the mother of all vampires, and I'm assuming that this is going to be perhaps partly her life story, which is something I really like. I like a circular story arc, or where someone is looking back at their life and kind of working back up to where you got at the end, or like where you are in present day. But to be honest, I don't know exactly what's going to happen in this book. I love the writing style in these books. It's so atmospheric and melodramatic, and then the other kind of tropes that this has, I think it would have like a femme fatale or morally grey characters. In the other 2 books they were very morally grey, they did terrible things, and this one is obviously following a female protagonist, so it might have some of like the femme fatale elements as well. And then this book will also contain gods or godlike creatures. I don't really want to spoil too much, but in the second book there was a lot opened up about mythology and kind of the origins of vampires, and I expect that that's going to be explored more in this one as well. I'm super excited to read this one. I have given Anne Rice 5-star before, so hopefully this one will also be a 5-star read. My next sequel is Harrow the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. This is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth, which is a book that I read last year and absolutely loved. I gave that one 5 stars. So in the first one, you are set in this world where there are all these different planets, which are called all the different houses. And at the beginning of the book, all the heads of these houses and their bodyguards bodyguards are summoned to this like palace. They don't really know why they've been summoned, and you are following Gideon, who is forced to be the bodyguard to the ruler of the ninth house, Harrow, who she absolutely hates. And this book was very much like puzzles. There was a murder mystery plot, it was bloody, there was skeletons, there was necromancy, and I absolutely loved that first book. So I have incredibly high hopes for Harrow the Ninth. I have heard pretty incredible things about this one too, and it does actually have a 4.3 rating on Goodreads. And I think that because I love that first book so much, I love the writing style, I love the world, I love the magic, I'm hoping that I will also really end up loving this one too. And this one would contain the gods tropes, because there is a lot about like the locked tomb and gods. The ninth house is very much to do with necromancy and the gods and all of that. It would also have morally grey characters. These characters do questionable things, and then also a beautiful writing style. It's exactly my type of writing style. The next few books all are fantasy or have fantastical elements. That was my favourite genre. When I went through all the 5 stars, the majority of them were fantasies, and the first one of those I have is Upon a Burning Throne by Ashok K. Banker. This is the first in a fantasy series. In this one, you are set in this world where there are like demons and demigods, and they walk amongst mortals. The emperor of the empire has recently died, and they have 2 children, but you don't necessarily inherit the throne just through blood. You have to sit on this burning throne, and then I think this girl turns up who is the daughter of like the demon lord, and she also wants to sit on the burning throne. So there's a lot of like political stuff going on, and I have heard fantastic things about this, and I just think it could be exactly my kind of thing. It does have gods in it. I'm assuming that there are also morally grey characters, considering there's all that demon stuff in this as well. And it is chunky, but it is the first book in a fantasy series, and that was like the biggest chunk of the books that I've rated 5 stars. A lot of them were the first book in fantasy series, so I'm hoping that I end up absolutely loving this one. I've got high hopes. Similarly, I have Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. Now, I only just realised when I was sat down to film this video that this one and Upon a Burning Throne, they both have a lot to do with like Indian gods and mythology, which interesting, I haven't read from that before, so this could be a new thing that I absolutely love. But in this one, you are following a female character, and she, I think in the original story, she ends up being like this evil character. So this is almost like her origin story, or kind of the events in her life that have led her to be portrayed in a certain way. This one is compared a lot to Circe by Madeline Miller, which is actually a book I did rate 5 stars. This one obviously also has gods, and I'm expecting there to be maybe femme fatale elements where the main character is getting revenge on men who have perhaps hurt her in her life. I don't know. I don't know the original story, so I'm going into this with like no idea really of what the story is going to be like. But I absolutely love Circe. I love a female driven story and just women fighting against the system, and I feel like that could be what this book is, just fighting against the place in society that she's been put in. So I'm super excited for this one. Next up, I have A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. Now this one is a fantasy, but it seems like it's quite a different fantasy to those like epic high fantasies, because in this one you are following Lady Trent, who is a dragon naturalist, and I'm pretty sure it's her just like recounting her life story, which is one of the things I love. I love a circular story arc or recounting a life story, and it's just her following her life, I think, trying to be this naturalist. And it says that it is for fans of fantasy, science and history. I love fantasy, I studied history, I did actually study a bit of science too as part of my degree. So this book I feel is just all my interests into one, and I love dragons obviously. Who doesn't love dragons? But yeah, I don't really know too much about this. I think it was one of the books that my mum maybe randomly selected for me when we were in a bookshop, and I've just been intrigued ever since. I haven't heard much about this one though, which I think is why it's been on my bookshelves for years at this point. But I have high hopes. I feel like this could be exactly like my kind of writing style, my kind of characters, that historical take, but also the dragon element. I think this one could really work for me. And then the last book on this list with fantastical elements is Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Tsujimura. I think you are following this group of young people whose mirrors become very strange, and then they can like walk through their mirrors, and they're in this like strange world, and they're having to find keys. I don't know exactly the plot, but I think this one is definitely less of like this fantastical adventure and more just this reflection on these characters and the things that they're going through in their life and the emotional things they're going through. I think that this one could be quite a sad book, which again was one of those things that I really enjoyed in all the 5 stars that I've read. A lot of them were tackling sadder, more emotional topics. I think this one could also have found family or friendship elements, maybe more on the friendship side. Found family is one of my favourite tropes, but I also love a very strong friendship group. I feel like those two kind of go hand in hand, and I have a feeling that because this is following like this group of characters who are kind of forced together, it might have those like found family elements in it as well. I've got a really good feeling about this. There's just something about it that makes me think I am going to rate it really highly, so I definitely need to get to this one soon. Then I have My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This one is a contemporary, I think, following this woman who, when she was in school, she had this relationship with her teacher, and at the time she didn't really see anything wrong with this. She was in love with him and it was like all romantic and everything, but now that she is an adult, loads of other claims are being made against this teacher, and she really has to reflect on her teenage years and perhaps the fact that she is a victim of like grooming. And I think this one is just going to be such an emotional read. And this one also does contain that telling your life story trope, which I really like looking back and like leading up to where you are now. I think that I could really enjoy this. I think it's going to be an incredibly hard read for me, but I do think that it could be a 5-star read, which is why it is on this list. And then the last book on this list is a bit of a wild card. I wanted to get 8 books for this video, but I only really had 7 fiction books that fit into the tropes, so I have fit on a non-fiction, and that is How We Fight for Our Lives by Saeed Jones. This is a memoir following Saeed Jones' experiences as a young black gay man from the South, and this one is apparently like a mix of kind of poetry and prose. It's very poetic, and that was something that really stood out to me. I love that poetic, descriptive, emotional, imagery kind of writing style, and I feel like this book could have that kind of thing. I love anything telling your life story. This is obviously a memoir, and I have really enjoyed a lot of the memoirs that I've read. A lot of them have been 5 stars. So even though this doesn't really fit any of those fiction tropes, I feel like it still has that beautiful writing style. It is still someone telling their life story. It's still probably going to deal with very sad and emotional topics, and I think that I could really enjoy this one. And those were my 8 5-star predictions. Do you think I'm going to rate any of these 5 stars? Put like a guess in the comments. But that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and to everyone out there, stay curious. Bye!